Hello and welcome to a very special episode of Power Play. Today is September 30th, 2024, which will be remembered as an historic day in the energy transition. Today, the United Kingdom, the birthplace of coal-fired power generation, is retiring its last coal-fired power plant. I'm your host, Paul Browning, and this is Power Play, a video podcast that travels the world to explore the hard truths of the energy transition. In this episode, we're not just witnessing a monumental shift in the UK's energy landscape, we're exploring the rise and fall of coal-fired power generation globally. So let's go. Today, the UK is retiring its last operating coal-fired power plant, the Ratcliffe-on-Soar Power Station in Nottinghamshire. This isn't just the end of an era for the UK, it's a symbolic moment in the global energy history. 1/3 of all carbon emissions come from burning coal, making it the single largest contributor to climate change. This is a turning point that isn't just happening in the birthplace of coal-fired power generation. Coal usage in the power sector will peak globally as soon as this year. Let's journey back to understand how we got here. Coal mining in the UK dates back to Roman times, but it was the Industrial Revolution in the 18th and 19th centuries that truly embedded coal into the fabric of British society. In 1882, London became home to the world's first coal-fired power station, the Edison Electric Light Station on Holborn Viaduct. By 1900, coal met more than 95% of the UK's energy demand. Coal was the lifeblood of the nation, fueling factories, heating homes, and powering the trains and ships that connected the vast British Empire. However, this dependence on coal came with a significant environmental cost. The extensive use of coal led to severe air pollution. The infamous London smog is a stark reminder, and made the UK one of the largest historical contributors to global carbon emissions. The UK, due to its early industrialization and colonial outreach, stands as the fourth largest contributor to these emissions, following the United States, China, and Russia. The decline of coal in the UK began in the latter half of the 20th century. Several factors played crucial roles. First, easily accessible coal reserves were dwindling, making extraction more difficult and expensive. Second, the discovery of North Sea oil and gas provided cheaper and cleaner alternatives. Third, growing concerns about air pollution and climate change prompted a shift in public opinion and policy. And then finally, the miners' strike of the 1980s and the subsequent closure of many coal mines accelerated coal's decline. Fast forward to recent years, and coal-fired power generation in the UK has plummeted, from nearly 40% of the electricity mix in 2012 to zero as of today. This rapid change was driven by a combination of policy decisions, economic factors, and technological advancements. The UK passed the Climate Change Act in 2008, committing to significant reductions in greenhouse gas emissions and setting the country on a path towards net zero target by 2050. Then in 2015, the UK was the first national government to announce a commitment to phase out unabated coal use, setting a target date of 2025, which was later brought forward to this year, 2024. Now let's focus on the Ratcliffe-on-Soar Power Station. Construction began in 1963, with the first unit becoming operational in 1968 and the entire plant fully operational by 1970. With a capacity of 2,000 megawatts, it supplied electricity to around 2 million homes. And here's a quintessentially British fact. Over its operational life, this power plant generated enough energy to make more than 21 trillion cups of tea. The plant received its last coal delivery in June, and as it shuts down today, its story is far from over. The owner, Uniper, has announced ambitious plans to repurpose the site for green hydrogen production. Uniper intends to produce green hydrogen through electrolysis, which involves splitting water into hydrogen and oxygen using electricity from renewable resources like wind and solar. They aim to reach a production capacity of 500 megawatts by the end of the decade. This shift not only aligns with climate goals, but could also create up to 8,000 jobs during the redevelopment phase. And coal-fired power plants have much of the infrastructure needed for green hydrogen production. They have high-capacity connections to the electrical grid. They have established water rights and water treatment facilities, and they typically have connectivity to rail or waterway distribution. So what are the hard truths of this episode? Replacing coal with predominantly onshore and offshore wind power turbines requires managing a higher proportion of variable renewable energy sources. Energy storage technologies and grid infrastructure upgrades are also required, like those we investigated in the Shetland Islands in Season 2, Episode 5. And there's also a social impact. We have to address the needs of communities historically dependent on coal through retraining programs and new industry investments. The second hard truth is that despite this milestone in the United Kingdom, coal-fired power generation continues to increase globally. Coal still counts for over a third of global electricity generation and remains the world's largest source of greenhouse gas emissions. But there's hope as many countries recognize the urgent need for change. Let's revisit a similar project from Episode 7 of Season 1, where we explored the Intermountain Power Project in Delta, Utah in the United States. Just like the Ratcliffe-on-Soar project is the last coal-fired power plant in the UK, the Intermountain Power Project is the last coal-fired power plant supplying electricity to the state of California. When it retires in 2025, it will also transform into a green hydrogen production facility. And while the owners of Ratcliffe-on-Soar have only announced an intention to convert it to green hydrogen production, the Intermountain Power Renewal Project and the Advanced Clean Energy Storage Project in Delta are already under construction. California's elimination of coal-fired power in its power sector is significant because it's been at the forefront of the clean energy movement in the United States, and its move away from coal is consistent with national trends. Coal-fired power generation in the U.S. peaked in 2007 and has been in steep decline due to tougher federal environmental rules, the availability of low-cost fracked natural gas, and exponential growth of intermittent renewables like wind and solar. This combination of less coal and more natural gas and renewables has resulted in an over 40% drop in U.S. power sector carbon emissions since their peak. But the elephant in the room for global coal consumption is China's power sector. In Season 1, Episode 2, we examined China's power sector, and here's what's happening. China has become the world's largest investor in renewable energy, and while they continue to build new coal-fired power plants to deal with their increasing need for electrical capacity, renewables are increasingly taking the role of producing China's electrical energy demand. Because of this, experts project that 2024 could be the peak year for coal consumption in the Chinese power sector. And if it doesn't happen this year, it's definitely going to happen within the next few years. And since China is the world's largest emitter of greenhouse gases and the largest consumer of coal, this peak will be a truly monumental turning point for global carbon emissions. So, the retirement of the UK's last coal-fired power station is important not just because it's a national milestone, it's also a symbolic turning point in the global energy transition. As the peak of king coal and human carbon emissions comes into sight, and we enter the amazement phase of the energy transition, where exponential growth in wind, solar, and energy storage mark the beginning of the end for fossil fuel usage in the energy sector. Thanks for joining me in this landmark episode of Power Play, which will also be our last episode of Season 2 in Europe. It's been an incredible whirlwind summer for me and my wife, and we're looking forward to getting back home. I'm going to publish one more Season 2 episode next week from the JFK airport on my way home to the United States, and then I'm planning to take a break before beginning Season 3 in mid-November. So that's a wrap from Paul Browning, traveling the world to explore the hard truths of the energy transition. Today was a truly symbolic day for the energy transition, and each step we take brings us closer to a sustainable future. As we conclude our European episodes, here's some of my favorite footage from the trip.